In a busy work area, a forklift began moving forward on its own, without a driver at the controls. Before anyone could react, the forks made direct contact with a nearby parked car. Workers rushed in, trying to stop the machine, but it kept pushing forward. By the time it was brought under control, the damage had already been done. A costly mistake that could have been much worse. Always ensure industrial vehicles are powered down and secured before leaving them unattended. Even a few seconds without control can lead to serious property damage or injury. A simple parking brake and power-off check can prevent accidents like this. A forklift approached a truck to lift a tall stack of glass bottles filled with soda. At first, the load seemed steady, but as the forks slid in and lifted, the balance shifted. The stack tipped forward, sending the bottles crashing down. Glass shattered, and the soda spilled across the ground, soaking the work area. It was a costly mess that happened in the blink of an eye. When handling fragile or top-heavy loads, stability is everything. Move slowly, keep the load level, and secure it before lifting. A few extra moments of preparation can save thousands in damage and keep the workplace safe. A forklift waited at the edge of a roadway, preparing to cross once traffic had cleared. The operator paused, watching for an opening, but as the forklift edged closer to the lane, a fast-approaching motorcycle came down the road. Unable to react in time, the bike struck the extended forks, and the rider lost balance. It was over in seconds, a reminder of how quickly road situations can change. When operating forklifts near public roads, visibility and signaling are critical. Use spotters, ensure forks are lowered when possible, and make sure drivers can clearly see the equipment ahead. Preventing a collision starts with making the hazard impossible to miss. In an improvised attempt to move a heavy load to the second floor of a building, 2 forklifts were put to work in a highly unusual setup. The first forklift held the second one elevated on its own forks, acting like a moving platform. From this raised position, the second operator tried to lift the cargo higher toward the upper level. At first, the plan seemed to be working, but as the weight shifted and the first forklift inched forward, the balance was lost. The heavy load tipped outward, slipping from the forks and crashing down to the ground below. It was a dramatic and costly moment that showed just how risky improvised lifting methods can be. Forklifts are engineered for very specific lifting operations, and using them outside of those limits greatly increases the chance of accidents. Always use the proper equipment, such as cranes or dedicated lifting platforms, for elevated loads. In material handling, the safest method is rarely the quickest, but it's always the one worth taking. A forklift was making its way across a roadway to reach another work area. The operator waited briefly for an opening before moving forward, but as the forklift crossed, a fast-approaching car came down the lane. The driver was unable to react in time and collided with the extended forks of the machine. The impact caused significant damage to the vehicle, though thankfully, no one was injured. It was a sudden reminder that even slow-moving machinery can be a serious hazard on public roads. Whenever forklifts operate near or across traffic lanes, visibility and signaling are essential. Use warning lights, spotters, and ensure all approaching drivers are aware of the crossing. Clear communication between operators and road users can prevent accidents before they happen. A forklift moved in to lift a large, heavy stack of wooden planks. As the forks raised the load, the sheer weight began to pull forward. The force tipped the stack downward, and the forklift itself leaned into a tilted position. Always check both the weight and balance of a load before lifting. Exceeding a forklift's rated capacity not only risks damaging the cargo, it can destabilize the entire machine. Safe lifting starts with knowing the limits. In a busy yard, 2 forklifts worked together to lift a massive steel coil from the back of a truck. The plan was simple: raise the load so the truck could pull forward and clear the area. With the coil balanced between their forks, the truck eased away. But as the operators began lowering the weight, the heavy coil shifted unexpectedly. The strain tilted the forklifts forward, putting both machines under extreme pressure. Then, under the load's force, one of the forks on a forklift suddenly broke. Fortunately, the coil remained stable enough for the workers to step back, and no one was hurt. Lifting extremely heavy or awkward loads requires careful planning and equipment checks. Always inspect forks and lifting gear for wear before starting the job, and never exceed rated capacities. When the margin for error is small, preparation is the strongest safeguard. At a loading area, a forklift moved in to lift a large, heavy load from the back of a truck. The operator managed to raise it and began reversing to clear the truck, but the weight proved difficult to control. As the forklift rolled back, the load tipped forward, pulling the machine into a tilted position. The cargo broke apart, scattering across the ground. A costly reminder of how quickly balance can be lost. Always confirm the load's weight and stability before lifting, and keep it low while moving. Heavy cargo can shift unexpectedly, putting both the machine and the operator at risk. Slow, steady movement is the safest way to handle maximum capacity load. In a busy work area, a forklift was moving a large, heavy load. At first it seemed steady, but as it traveled forward, the weight began to shift. The strain was too much, and in seconds, the load tipped forward. The heavy cargo tumbled from the forks, crashing down in front of the machine. Fortunately, no one was in the fall zone, but the risk was real. Always know the lifting capacity of your equipment and never push it to its limit. Heavy loads can become unstable quickly, especially on uneven ground or during movement. A few extra checks before moving can prevent a dangerous drop. Inside a busy loading area, a forklift approached with two large, heavy boxes it had just removed from a truck. The operator carefully raised the load, aiming to place it on top of an existing stack of boxes. But as the lift reached higher, the weight began to shift. The stacked boxes tilted forward, and in seconds, they toppled toward the workers standing nearby. One worker stumbled as the load came down, falling to the ground while others quickly stepped back. It was a moment that showed how quickly balance can be lost when heavy cargo is in motion. Always ensure a safe perimeter around any active lift. Workers should remain clear of the drop zone, and operators must move slowly when positioning loads at height. When people and heavy cargo share the same space, awareness is the strongest protection.